All right, just checking. I think I got everything set right. Just bring up the chat. All righty. Oh, well, thanks everyone for joining. Yeah, unfortunately, we weren't able to have a whole meeting this month. So, yeah, so we're just doing it by Zoom today, but hopefully we'll have our whole meetings back next month. So, but we've been lucky to have some people who could present for us tonight remotely. So I was just going to have a quick chat about the future events that are coming. So, so we just listed, yeah, next month for a whole meeting. So ones we're looking at attending are the planes, trains, and auto at the Ipswich Rail Museum. We've been there before, and it was pretty cool show. So we're just gathering people to see what to go to and what we should display at that one. Then after that, we're looking at the Electric Dreams at the RNA Showgrounds. So I've never been to that one, but we'll post out more information as it comes along. Then we've got the Noosa EV Expo and the RACQ Motorfest at the same time. So I'm not sure which one. We might have people go to both, I think. So not quite sure. It's unusual to have two largest events on at the same time. And then September, we're wondering, last time we did the EV experience. So we might do another one, but we haven't looked at that yet. Also in September, we're still chatting with some other clubs because there's some other events going on at that time. So as soon as we know, we'll mail some stuff out. Tonight, John's not here, so I've just been running through the stuff for you. So we've got some information on the Hyundai Ioniq from people, and also we've got some information on the BYD E6. So we're very lucky that the owners have been able to give up their time to let us know about these vehicles. So John's got the first one as Paul. So hey, Paul, did you want to present for this one?
I'll just start a slideshow. Yeah, so my name's Paul Gard. I've had the Ioniq 5 for about 6 weeks now. It was a very good purchase, lucky really, because not many of them are in Australia now. There's only about 240 or so, they reckon. So I'll just run through a quick summary of what I've found so far with it. And if you've got any questions, and then Simon's going to talk about his, and we'll take questions after that. Although if you've got questions during it, then feel free to pipe up. And also Simon, if you've got things to add. So yeah, I ordered the car on 12th of October. So I wasn't one of the ones who had pre-ordered with a dealer, but basically they had an online ordering system Hyundai Australia ran, which didn't work very well because the website wasn't set up to handle that many people. There were probably about 10,000 sent out invitations for this one ordering event, and predictably there were too many people using the website, and it was a multi-page form which sent you back to the beginning if you if you weren't lucky. So it was a bit of a nightmare. But after about 2 hours, I got a deposit taken, and they didn't have the color I wanted, but apart from that, I got an all-wheel drive. They're generally high-spec ones they're selling at the moment, and it's basically got all the bells and whistles. But the color you can see there is they call it a digital teal. My wife doesn't like it because it looks a bit too similar to a road color for her, but I'm not really fussed on the color myself. Yeah, so communications were a bit of a challenge, but we did eventually get the car on the 8th of December. The price was $81,000. That includes the tow bar fitted by the dealer, which I was quite happy to get a tow bar because I've had that with a previous car was an Outlander plug-in hybrid. So it was handy to have that tow bar capability because I would have missed that if I hadn't have had that, mainly for just towing a little box trailer. But also for bike racks. I don't use cars very much, really, so it's definitely a luxury sort of purchase. But we do use it to get around in the early mornings for sports stuff, and then on the weekends. Longer trips are mainly to northern New South Wales, but I'll tell you about a few road trips I've taken in the car already. It's part of a general push we've been doing as a family to try to reduce our fossil fuel usage and try to make our house sustainable. So we've got solar for about 5 years and a battery on the house as well. We got rid of gas a couple of years ago. Generally do a trickle charger for the car because we don't have that much usage that we need to get it charged up every day. So if we go for a long trip on the weekend, we can spend a whole week just trickle charging from about 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. off the 2 kilowatt charger, which generally doesn't overload the solar system. And on sunny days, you can charge up the car, you can charge up the house, you can run a pool pump and the air conditioning and still have enough left over. So just try to balance the solar loads, basically. So why an Ioniq 5? Well, we had probably been waiting for a Model Y, and if that had come out first, we might have got that. But the Model Y or the Volvo XC40 or this one would have suited us fine, I'm sure. I did like the fact it had the certified towing capacity, although I understand that the Tesla Owners Club have got that for the Model 3. It's got vehicle to load, so that's handy for me. I do a lot of camping, and we have a sporting club called the Racq Association, so I can run the whole hash house off the car because it can supply up to 3.6 kilowatts. So that'll be nice to have a lot of power available when camping. It does very fast charging, so 18 minutes from 10 to 80%. That's a 350 kilowatt charger. I've seen charging rates up to 225 kilowatts. I think Simon's seen slightly higher, but basically it's quite a flat curve too. It charges pretty fast, right up to 60%, and then tapers a bit slower than a lot of other cars. So yeah, it's a very, very fast charging car when you have the right charger. And also I like the fact it's got a big rear opening. It's very flexible, spacious interior, so you can move the back seats forward and back to enlarge or reduce the space in your cargo area. And it also has the ability to adjust the space in the front as well. You can move, like the console between the seats moves forwards and back. So it's quite a smart and well-designed interior. It feels very spacious. Everyone, when they review it, always says it feels so huge inside because they've moved the wheels right to the corners. It's a 3-meter wheelbase, so it's got a lot of space there between the wheels, which is all interior space, usable interior space. I've come from the Outlander, as I said, so I didn't really notice too much of a downgrade in carrying capacity from an Outlander. So it's a similar sort of size. It's slightly smaller than a Model Y in terms of the cargo space, but it's actually pretty spacious car. A few reviewers have complained it doesn't have some things, so it doesn't have an app, at least in Australia. It doesn't get the over-the-air updates that the Teslas get, and you do have to pay for the servicing, which, although it's reduced cost, it is more costly than servicing Tesla, for example. And at the moment, we're not using the Tesla supercharger network, obviously, but that may get freed up for other vehicles at some point in the future. Yeah, it's a very zippy car. Its acceleration is about the same as a standard Model 3 Tesla, 5.2 seconds to 0 to 100. Although, yeah, that's probably actually faster than the standard Tesla, isn't it? Anyway, comfortable ride. Its suspension's pretty good, really, for comfort, I think. And there's some assistance features. It does have smart cruise control, auto parking. The blind spot camera feeds on the dash are pretty cool. When you put the indicator on it, it gives you a little video of what's beside you. And it does have the Android Auto, which I like, and Apple CarPlay. So a few trips I've done so far. I've been up to Toowoomba for a day trip, Caloundra, Hastings Point for a day, Caloundra for a day trip, Hastings Point overnight. Last weekend I went up to Ballindine, which is long enough. Those other trips I didn't have to use a fast charger, but Ballindine I did. The better route planner suggested using the Racq fast charger. Now, there's only one fast charger there, and unfortunately on the way up it wasn't working, so I had to plug into the 11 kilowatt slow charger. I thought there was going to be a big problem coming home because I really needed to put in another about 30 kilowatt hours in the battery on the way back. But so it would have taken a while on the 11 kilowatts. But the charger seems to be coming in and out of service, and it was actually working on the way back into town, so that was quite nice. The adventure, though, did get a bit gnarly because while we were at this fairly remote place, the river came up overnight, and we actually had to put the Ioniq on my flatbed truck to get it out through the river. It was about half a meter deep. I didn't want to risk the car. It probably would have been fine, but $80,000 car, brand new, didn't really want to test it on a on a deep crossing. So on Monday we went out to Tritium because Xavier had posted in one of the Facebook groups for the Electric Vehicle Association that he wanted an Ioniq 5 to test out his new charger. So they've got these modular 150 kilowatt chargers out there. That's their new product. It's sharing DC across the different chargers, so it's apparently more cost effective for the owners of stations if they can scale it up or down according to demand by just adding extra stations that are all DC connected, so it's easier to share loads between the stations as well. It charged very fast, not quite as fast as the 350 kilowatt charger, obviously, but it was 22 minutes from 12 to 80%. I had a really good chat with Xavier. I've recorded a few videos of chatting with him. I might just post them on the Australian Electric Vehicle Association Queensland page so you can just watch them yourselves. But effectively, it was just talking about the future of charging and what Tritium saw as the future of the charging network, whether hydrogen will take over. I think Xavier thought that the hydrogen is more likely to be in bigger vehicles like ships and planes rather than cars. I agree with that, obviously. I was interested just to ask how's the grid going to cope if you're putting these, multiple fast chargers in the middle of nowhere on long distance driving routes. He thinks that because the infrastructure is mostly co-located with highways, it's going to be okay for the grid. I am interested though, once, if it did really get to high penetration of electric cars, how much that's going to affect the grid in terms of these big flows of energy. Presumably having batteries co-located with your charging stations are going to be important to just even out the load. I did ask him about the reliability of the Tritium chargers because I've found, looking on PlugShare, there's quite a few stations out quite a lot of the time. He wasn't able to comment, maybe being a bit diplomatic. But anyway, it's probably enough from me first up, and then Simon's going to give you a look around his car, I think, and then you can fire away with questions, unless you've got any questions for me.
Oh, Simon, do you want to give us a show around? I haven't seen anything pop up in the chat so far.
Yep. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. So you're coming through the audio in the car, so that'll tell you how Bluetooth audio is working or not working. Hopefully it's working. I'm just on a 4G connection because as soon as I shut this car door, it really clamps the Wi-Fi off. It goes from 5 bars to nothing. So that's quite interesting, actually. It shows you how much shielding is in this car. Just wanted to say, Paul, I actually just started, just before this meeting, I posted the 2 quick videos I took of it hitting, it was actually 220 kilowatts on the 350 kilowatt charger, 220 or 221. I got it wrong when I thought I said to you it was 250. But yeah, 221, it was still zipping along, absolutely crazy at 60%. But after sort of around that 70%, it tailed off to the 120s. Anyway, I've just got a couple of notes and then I'll show you around. To give you an idea what I've come from a family car, we had a 3-litre turbo diesel A6 from Audi as a wagon. So I needed something that would fit 2 kids, 2 dogs in the boot, without clamping a boot shut. So it was a wagon, or in this case, a hatchback. And it's got to be tall. I'm 6, to give you an idea, if you're a tall person, I'm 6 foot, just under 6'5". And I've got like a, good 2 fingers to the side bit, and to the glass, I've got a full hand above me. And if you shut this, because this has always been of interest to me, cars that are too small are very irritating because you end up sitting like this. Like the MG ZS, I'm way up higher than that. So that's with the sort of soft roof closed. Glass open, you can probably hear the noise cutting in. So anyway, we needed something that was big enough to fit us. I needed around the sort of high 200s to 300 kilometers range. This does probably about the 360, 380, the way we use it. What else have we got? I've got a tow bar as well fitted. Again, probably more for bike racks. But, you know, we do have my parents have a caravan that I could connect if I wanted to, and that'd be good. We'd planned with our PV install here, our solar electric, to have, you know, cars coming soon. So I actually had 3-phase installed, and I've got 20 odd kilowatts worth of solar power and a 3-phase Zappy sitting here. So with 3-phase, you can push 11.1 kilowatts in off the Zappy to this car. With single phase, it's the 6 point something. Now, this isn't generally an issue, except when we have really grey days like we've had recently. So I found setting it back to single phase meant I could get more charge into the car over time. If I set it to 3-phase, the Zappy needed somewhere in the order between 4.5 and 6 kilowatts before it would actually, like excess, before it would charge on Eco Plus. Obviously, if you just want to plug it in, hit fast charge, fill it up from the grid or whatever, it just goes. It does it very well. But if you want to purely charge off sun juice, as we call it around in our family, then you need to, you know, make sure you put it down a single phase so it'll, you know, cut over enough. I'll flick over the cameras and I'll take you through the car, you know, from what I see. The screens, sorry for my fingers there. I'm assuming, oh, sorry, fat fingered the screen. There we go. The car is on at this point. Aircon is in the lowest setting, so, you know, it's barely audible, but it's still the loudest thing in the car, you know, except for road noise on the highways. What Paul was saying before about indicators, and the only thing that gets me is the indicators, of course, on the right. If you're used to driving European cars, it's on the left. If you put, you know, your indicator on when you're driving, it shows you the lane. You know, once you get used to it, it's fantastic. The general sort of speed of the, you know, the screen is pretty good. Sometimes if you're driving, you find you don't quite touch it hard enough because you don't want to smack it. You know, energy consumption, obviously I'm using a lot more climate at the moment because I'm just sitting in the car and electronics and not going anywhere, but that's kind of what it's doing. We've done almost 2,000 kilometres in this car now, some of which have been runs up to sort of Caloundra area and back to Brisbane. I'm in fairly central Brisbane, and it's been just great. It just keeps going. Range anxiety disappeared after about the first week. You know, this is our first EV, I should add. It just disappeared because we were just sort of topping up to 90% at home and being done with it. The screen is actually a little bit dim at the moment because it dims it at night. You can set that up. You know, the touch screen here for auto, you know, all the rest, this all works beautifully. One note I have is at the moment, the AC does not, the air conditioning does not really turn on remotely. You can, when you turn the car on, like you can do a remote start on it, it'll turn on and it'll run for about 10 minutes and then it turns itself off again. If you schedule the air conditioning to run, you can only really do that, it seems, if you're plugged into the charger. Now, the problem I've got with the Zappy is if you've got it set to that eco, use only your excess energy, it's basically telling the car, hey, I've got no energy, and turns off. So if you've got scheduled cooling to happen, say you want to do a school run at 3 and you say, I want to leave at 2:45, have the car at 21 degrees and, you know, the tank topped up. If it tops up the battery before that time, or the Zappy doesn't have power, you know, from excess solar, it doesn't seem to cool the car. So I think these are just sort of, shall we say, features that haven't been fully figured out yet. The other one that bugs me quite a lot is the Korean version has dash cam as an icon there. We do not have dash cam availability at all. So I've got to get an ugly dash cam and put it in here, you know, if I want one. What else have we got? Charger unplugged. Oh yeah, if you start the car and you're on the AC charger, I cannot find a way of disconnecting the charging cable on AC without stopping the car and then unlocking it with the key. There doesn't seem to be any other way to eject that little, you know, holding pin on the charging socket. I'll have a bit more of a play, but it's just, there's some bizarre stuff that I suspect will be ironed out with firmware features. The other thing is, why they didn't let you. Sorry, Paul.
Just saying. Did you try pressing the door unlock key on the key that usually unlocks? Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
So I had the car start and the aircon running because my kids were getting in the back.
Okay.
And they're all in, and I still had the zappy, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll unplug that. And then I faffed around for ages before getting in the car to stop the car, hit the unlock. You could hear the pin pop,
right.
And then carried on there.
It does have some weird quirks with what it will and won't do when it's in different modes. Yeah.
Yep. So why they didn't have, why if they're not doing over the air, why they don't have Wi-Fi here that connects to your home Wi-Fi and lets you update or something? I don't know. But anyway, I'll put this page down. Sorry, I'll show people inside here. So as I said, I'm pretty tall. I'm quite comfortable here with my legs, and I can put the seat back quite a lot further. You can fit an easier box of tissues in here. This bit does do that's all the way forward as it is, and it can go all the way back. I've used that once out of principle to get across to the passenger seat just so I could sit there in a park and enjoy the aircon and do some typing on an iPad. But, the rubber mats you see in the bottom are actually from Rubber Tree, and I'll show you more in the boot. I got that more because, sand, liquid, all those kind of things. I'm just going to swap over to my headset because I'm going to get out, so bear with me 1 second. Right, I'm assuming you guys can hear me now on my headset.
Yep.
Great.
Okay.
So I set up a little light here so you could see inside. So now you can sort of see the door lighting and all that more. Obviously, that's all adjustable. These floor mats, they're in the back. They're actually like a cell structure. Well worth getting for $200 because it catches any liquid spills and that before it gets on the carpets. In terms of space inside, when you get out the handles, easy to grab. They do feel a little sort of not floppy, but sort of like there's spring in them. I think that's the design, but you sort of grab them and you feel not quite as sturdy as some of the other bits of the car, but they're still great. The pink lights are cute. Can you tell I have two daughters? So we've got that's a booster seat for a 6-year-old, a tall 6-year-old. These seats are they're a little bit forward from the back bar, but you can easily sort of, go over like that. I don't know how to go into ultra wide screen mode camera mode when I'm in a zoom. So they go almost flat. If you go down to level, it's, pretty much there, like you've got no issues. I did manage to fit a king-sized single mattress in here, but it was right up. I had to move the front seat forward on the left and sort of squidge it right up. It's not something I'd recommend.
I measured 2.1 meters from the back of the seat in my driving position to the back tailgate to give people an idea. Yeah.
Yep. So what are the switches on the side of the passenger seat? Sorry, I'm not keeping up. I'll come back to the chat, but do you mean these things down here? There's one which is a manual lever, which, hang on. Sorry. Manual lever that lets it up, and one that goes forward and back. Sorry, which switches?
The ones on the front seat is
those.
Yeah.
Yep. That one, this button is this sort of whole recline nap mode you can do. That one lets you put this seat. I don't know if it'll do it. Please make sure. Okay, so on the, I don't know if you can see it, but on the screen there it said, please make sure there's enough space, and then push it again, and it'll go into if you hold it, I think goes into that full recline nap mode thing. And I'm just going to stop it so it doesn't squash that. The other two are actually sorry, that's the wrong one. That's the left-hand side rear. You can move that seat forward and back. So it means if you need to move these rear seats and you're sitting in your driver's position, you can actually modify the back seats in this one. Yeah. So it's probably easier now to see if I just move that. You can see that one moving forward and backward.
What someone was talking about with the reclining is that it has an automatic mode where it will put the front seats into basically a very reclined mode and put your leg rest up for you. I think it's probably targeting Uber drivers who need to have a bit of a nap while they're charging or something.
Yeah, I've done it once sitting out where it was getting dusk at Mount Cootha. I was up there trying to escape to have some quiet time to just think about some notes I was writing. And I put the glass roof, the sunroof visor back, and I put the seat back, and I just chilled out just because I could, not because I'd use it more often. So anyone that's interested in the lights, that's kind of the back of the car. This strip is quite nice, and they do have Ioniq 5 written on it. It's a bit dark in there just because of. Right, so as you can see, this headrest is turned around on that seat because of the child booster seat. Works better that way. And that one's just sort of set normally for my 10-year-old. They've got this bar for the thing in the back, and it's got these weird, I don't know if you can see it, but you can actually put it in 2 different positions. So you can put it sort of forward 1 notch, which means you can recline the seats in front far further and still cover whatever's in the back. But we tend to leave it, set all the way back. You do have a lot of, boot space for a car this size. It is very flat, which is great. Now, you probably can't see it on that video, and I don't think I can turn my phone light on to show it to you, but there is, hang on, I think I can get a hand in there. And can you see my fingers in there? When these seats are forward, you can very easily lose golf umbrellas and all types of crap down that when you hit the brakes, they roll forward, hit the back seats and slide down there. And that gap goes a fair way down, so you can lose things down there. I've lost a golf umbrella, which I was hunting for quite some time. It's scratchy sort of plastic, but it seems very tough, which is great. A little bit of flex to it, some vents under here. This is the floor itself. There was they gave us carpet mats in the front, but they didn't give us anything in the back, which is one of the reasons I bought this rubber mat. You do have space under here, not very much to see, very hard to lift up at the moment. There's space on the sides for, the not charging adapter, the vehicle to load adapter. We've got a first aid kit under there, tire puncture, repair kits and all that kind of stuff. You can see actually my umbrella has gotten stuck in that wedge at the back. So that gets you sometimes, but you get used to it. Any questions anyone can see on, because I'm just on my iPhone, is there anything in the chat related to the boot that anyone wants to know?
Nothing for the boot.
Nothing for the boot. Aside from that.
So someone had asked, do you think the finish is what do you think of the finish compared to other Hyundais?
To other Hyundais, well, I can compare it to an Audi and a Porsche. Inside, it is well and truly up to it. On the outside, it is as well. Having said that, it does have some of these plasticky bits around. I don't mind the plasticky bits because they're much harder wearing for me for what I want than the leather was. We had an Audi that was complete leather, sealing the whole lot. And that just becomes difficult to maintain over time. So, that's a bit tricky. I rate the inside very highly. I've had other people in all manner of cars jump in and go, wow. It really, especially the lighter color seems to really take people's breath away. It is very nice. We're having these little holes. Now, I don't know if you can see that. There's all these little holes in the seat. That's for the ventilation. That's great, but it does mean you can't really stick seat covers on them.
I've used the seat cooling quite a bit. It's been good. I think generally speaking, it feels very futuristic with the layout and the spaciousness, and also to drive it. I mean, everyone who's been in it so far that I've taken for a drive has been, this is the future sort of thing.
Yep. Let me just get under the hood. Trying to do it left-handed, which is not my forte. Probably need the light around a bit further, but you can see in the all-wheel drive one, there's this sort of frunk. It has a little light in it. At the moment in here, I've got my tow bar, for the back, and I've got the granny charge cable, as they call it. And that's about it, because, you know, under here will get warm. It's not a place I would put anything else really. There's, let me just see if I can move that light over a tiny bit. Sorry, bear with me. Go. It's a little bit more light. You've got your 4 fluids here, you know, that they're going to touch. The 12-volt battery is actually tucked up under the side here, and this is your fuse box, which is actually really nice that you can just sort of, oh, I can't do it one-handed, but you can just get in there and change fuses if you needed to for all your 12-volt stuff. That's it. The lighting at the front there, which looks very funny on this camera, is quite nice. It looks definitely different in people's rear vision mirrors. And I must say, pretty much every time I've pulled up somewhere, maybe every second time, somebody's spoken to me about the car, whether it's Tesla owners going, hey, we've just ordered one, you know, or I wanted to get one of the first, or something like that. Can we just have a little look down the, I just don't want to miss anybody's, you know, questions.
Oh, yeah.
Chat.
Nathan did ask what's the energy consumption been. I think mine was around 17 kilowatt hours per 100k roughly. What's yours there in total?
Let me look, and keep in mind I've also done, shall we say, a fair few passenger rides in sport mode, which were not what we call very efficient. So that's drive to display, that's tire pressure, attention level. I just don't get why they have that. Okay, drive info, that's this one. After recharge, so that was the last one, getting 19, and for the whole, 19 basically.
Yeah, maybe mine was 19 too, I can't remember.
Yeah, so, you know, over 2000k, so that was up higher, that was like 22 to start with, and it's coming down now. We're starting to, shall we say, drive more normally. And I'd say most of the week here is short sort of 5k less runs. You know, it's going to be a lot of school, post office kind of runs, as well as all the business runs I do. You know, it went to swimming and back, you know, 2k there, 2k back this afternoon, up and down hills. We're sort of on the, you know, the western inner suburbs, so it's very hilly where we are here. So it's, you know, if I drive to the top of my street, it shows, you know, you're pulling 60, you know, kilowatt hours or something like that. And then by the time I roll down the next hill, it sort of evens out. So I'm not in a nice flat area, if that makes sense.
Just show them the pretty cool little 3D parking visualization you can get. Have you found that?
That's fantastic. So you just hit the park button, and, you know, obviously you can't see much with my rear, but this is really cool. What I'll actually do.
Click on the 3D icon too, because that shows you an outside.
Yeah, hang on, I'll just back it out a little bit. So, and it shows you the lines of where your wheels are going to go. I'm not driving on the public road while holding a phone, everyone, especially if there's any police in there. But, you know, if you look at how accurate that is there, right? So you get the drift of, like, you can really, yeah, I mean, okay, that's getting into the resolution of it. But if I just get out here, you know, you can quite literally see gutters and everything in front of you, you know, and that's pretty much what you had on the picture. It's great. You know, I began to rely on that. Oh,
there's also that
dogs.
There's also that little 3D icon, which isn't actually useful, but is fun to play with.
Yeah. So the barking's my dog that is not recognizing me in a headset in the dark. So there's these icons here.
That one there,
this one, isn't it? Yeah, so you can, you know, it's something that rhymes with banker, but you know,
sometimes when you park at the traffic lights, that's actually pretty fun to play with, because it gives you a pretty good view of what's around you.
Yeah, no, it does. You've also got, you know, the different sort of views if you want them, you know, for where you're going to actually be and where the tailgate needs to be. And then that's your sides. You know, if you particularly needed views to slot it in somewhere, you could do it that way, I think.
There is also
obviously
you can remotely move the car forward and back, which I've used a couple of times to get out of I've got a tight parking space at home, so if we need to get someone into a door that's not openable, you can just move the car back from outside the car if you need to.
Yeah, I've used it once here just to try it.
Yeah.
Oh, did we get disconnected?
It's quite possible.
Oh, well, that was awesome. Thanks very much
No worries.
for all of that. Like, that's awesome to see a new car, and you guys are so happy with the car.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a thrill.
So awesome. Oh, thanks very much. I didn't see any more questions in the list. So, yeah, if not, thanks very much. And Paul.
Sorry.
Oh,
you know what?
Oh, you're back.
I'll just,
yeah,
I'm
sorry.
back. Do you know what that was? That was user
What?
error.
Oh,
I actually did one silly thing because I was connected, of course, to the car, and I leant on that little button there with my right hand when I was trying to get the camera closer, and that's hang up.
okay. Yeah.
Right. So I literally just
yeah.
hung up on the call. So just so you know, there's like hang up, that's a Siri button. If you tap it up and down, that's volume up and down. This is for modes, for like if you tap it down, I think it's either for or next track or backtrack, those kind of things. On this side, you've got your lane assist, which is a bit of an annoyance because you've got to turn it off every time you start driving. That's cruise control. You can go faster, slower, or click it. Oh, sorry, that's cruise control. That's actually the distance you're following. So you can set your, if there's 4 bars, basically 4 being the furthest distance away for following in cruise, right through to, tailgating. And that's your info thing. And this is sort of to scroll through those bits and bobs.
Oh,
cool.
Awesome.
So any other questions?
No, I didn't see any more. And I was just saying thanks very much for letting us see your car. And I'm very happy that you're happy. So yeah.
I'll be happy to show anyone around if we can all get together in person, or if anyone really needs to see something or ask a question, just ping me. I did post the speed of charging videos from the Tritium, the 350 charger, up in Wild Horse Mountain in the Facebook group, underneath today's stuff. I just posted something. So feel free to get in touch. I'll answer any other questions.
Oh, awesome. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
All right. Hey, Paul.
G'day.
Hey.
How are you?
Sorry, let me just mark you as...
That I'm here?
No. No, there's this spotlight thing. Yeah, there we go. You got a spotlight. Hey.
Well, hi everyone. How are you? And I'm the proud owner of this wonderful BYD. It's virtually Build Your Dreams. It's called. BYD. It's one of only 15 of the E6s here in Australia, and I believe they're not bringing any more in. So it's a lovely car to drive. Something very different. It's I think the best summary I can say to you now is that it's a lovely family car that's electric. Yeah, thanks, Gav. Yeah, I'm doing a thing on Facebook called BYD Drive, and just putting some videos up and mucking around. So I thought I'd advertise the BYD Drive on Facebook. Right. Hey, all right. What I've tried to do for you is do a little video, and we'll kind of see how it goes. And I'll keep talking as the video goes. But I wanted to do a quick run round of the car for you. Stepped out at the beach the other day, and I just wanted to give you a quick run over the car. And it's got that dragon front. They call it a dragon design front, and the LED lights. And you can see that I've just left them on, right? But there's some great design features to them. It's a dual paint job with black and blue. Some real Chinese styling, like that space sign there. Great boot on it. Huge boot. In fact, about 650 litres, so they say. But the seats don't fold down. So it's really a, you'll see these as taxis over in Shenzhen in China and in Singapore, with plenty of room in the vehicle itself. I've had it for about 3 weeks now, guys, and I tell you what, it's just starting to grow on us. My wife has a Tesla Model 3, and she gives me hell about buying one of these. But it's got a lot of the great features that we're looking for. It's got a couple of not features that you are looking for and you haven't got, which is the other important thing, like maybe cruise control and navigation, and you know, that car pad you saw just on the front dash then, right, isn't bright enough during the day to actually read. But you know what? It's a brilliant car. I love driving it. Plenty of room in the back for the grandkids. You can have a party on that back seat, but you can walk into it. And you know, when you realise it's kind of been it's a taxi. Oh, look at the junk in there, will you? It's designed as a taxi, I suppose. But there is plenty of space in it. It really is. You know, the on-road cost. Well, the start cost on it was $39,990. $39,990. Come on, will you? Right? A 71.6 kilowatt battery. Now that, you know, some of the road tests say it's 520 kilometers distance. But look, I've got 480 out of it, and I've had the air conditioning on. We did a big run up to Toowoomba and back. Didn't charge, didn't do anything, you know. So it was really, really good, you know. I'm just going to try and go back to the this background. There. What else did I do? The charging. I went and bought a Tesla Generation 3 charger, because it'll charge a Tesla and it'll charge a Type 2 connection. So in the software, you can actually put it down as Tesla, only charge Tesla, or charge Gen 3 Type 2s. And we're at about 30 amps now. I don't know what that is in kilowatts, but around about 4 to 6 hours for 400 Ks. We're charging overnight or during the day. We've got solar in the house too. So the one charge does the boss's Tesla, the Model 3, and this now. And it's very easy to work, you know, no problems. The aircon, like we ran up to Toowoomba and back and did 456 Ks. And we actually did 476 Ks, or we used 476 Ks, and we assumed the 20 Ks extra was the aircon. It was a hot weekend, and we got back, recharged again, and away we go. So the 480 Ks out of a charge, really, really good, you know. So we're enjoying it. The torque. All right, so let's go through. And hey, I'm not a great car person. We've only ever had a poor old Mitsubishi ASX and put our fat bums in and drag our feet around. But now, the Tesla, we shoehorn ourselves in. This one, we actually just pop in and off we go. The torque, about 180 Newton meters, you know, it's a front wheel drive, 70 kilowatts, you know. 0 to 100, about 8 seconds. The battery, 71.7 kilowatts, and it's a blade, you know, lithium phosphate. Really good. The 10-inch car pad, I'm still trying to work out how to make it work completely, but you've got all the basics. I'm just missing my navigation. I'm missing my navigation and the cruise control of all things, you know. But on-road cost was about $3,000, so we're 42,000 approximately on road. There you are. To Paul and Simon, thanks for those, you know, that big review on your Ioniq, and I love those vehicles also, right? But that's all I've got to say on this one. And I can tell you that I've got a T3 van coming for the business, electric, 300 kilometers, range only, ideal for couriers, but we'll see how that goes. I get that in February, about the first week of February, another BYD. So yeah, there's my presentation, and I hope you've enjoyed, you know, what I've had to say.
Oh, awesome. Hey, I had a question in the chat. They were wondering,
Yeah.
Do you know what the consumption is when you're normally driving? Like, does it have a display to
Yeah,
tell you
it's
that?
anything between, if I've got both feet on the accelerator and pull hard on the steering wheel, we're up around 20. But like from the Toowoomba run, we're at 16 kilowatts per 100 kilometers.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's only a
Yeah.
small motor, really, right?
Mm.
You can tell by the acceleration and what have you, right? But it's 1,900 kilos of vehicle. So it takes a bit to get it going, but once it's going, guess what? It's fine. It's
Right.
down the road. Top speed of 132 at the moment. That was downhill with the sail up.
Oh, cool.
Any more questions? Does
oh,
it
yeah.
have an Android Apple CarPlay?
Hey.
No. And I'm trying to, at this point in time, drag that CarPlay, drag the, I think it's called Easy Connect. I've got to download Easy Connect for the CarPad. I've already got it on my Android phone, and I just haven't been able to connect it yet. So it's just a little bit frustrating with that CarPad, but I'll get the instructions from the guys in Sydney. The BYD people have been fantastic. I've been playing since July with them, right? Waiting for this to come. Like I said, it's the first one registered, I think, in Australia. The electric Viking was there at the presentation when we first picked it up, and he's done a couple of tests, a comparison from Lynn's Tesla to this, E6. So have a look at the electric Viking also on YouTube, and have a look at the tests that he did. This is 26 minutes of testing. I don't know how he managed to do that, but it was good. What else have I got? What was on the road cost? Got that. Looks similar to the MG5 wagon. Oh, it's a lot bigger. I think it's a real lot bigger, and I just got it tinted, +1 darkest tint through here on the windows, and I think just the legal on the front window. It looks like a hoon machine, but I can't get a picture up for you. I was stressing a bit to make sure everything was right for the presentation. So there you go, guys. Any more questions? And I'm off. So it's been great to talk to you. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. Thanks very much for showing us your car.
No problems. We'll be at the next meeting, and you can all look at it in person.
Ah, awesome. Thank you.
All right. Wonderful. See you.
Yeah. Hey, Nathan, do you have your...
Yeah. Hi there. It's been... make my video working. There we go. Hi.
Hey.
Sorry. Yeah, it's been pretty fantastic to see around the cars. I don't think we've lost anything tonight by not being all in one spot together. I feel like I've almost tested in both cars after being around all of those. So that's been excellent. I've got a bit of a quick one tonight, a bit of a shorter one, but more than happy to use it to have any questions or so on. And getting back in the swing of things for the new year and so on. But because it's been the new year, I thought I'd take a little bit of time and reflect on 2021 and also have a little look forward to 2022 and, see what we've got around us. So I just want to make sure I've got my chat box up so I can see what's going on. Jen did ask a question just for Paul. I'm not sure if Paul's left the room or not, but looks like he's still there. But Nexport BYD Australia imported 15 cars for customers like Paul and delivered them just in this last month or so. So Paul was one of the first, Jen. So I'm pretty sure that's the mechanism, the route. That Paul received his car.
Yeah, that's correct. Anybody who wants to go in, it's EV Direct and have a look at what's available and what's coming in February. There we are.
Yeah, and they're not bringing any more in, you say?
Not of the E6s, but the UN Plus will be in next in February. And then they're even talking about a Ute, bringing a Ute in, right? And then the Han, which is the performance vehicle. And that's what I'm heading for, one of those Hans. I hope dual motor and, 70 kilowatts, and see if I can get some speeding tickets.
Yeah, why not? Why not? So the Han's just been released in Norway and heading for Germany at the moment. So it's just making its way into those pinnacle European markets. So we'll see if it makes its way to Australia. Looking at 2021, I thought I'd take a few moments to have a look at the sales figures. So just before we, get into the figures that we saw in 2021, we were casting our minds back to 2020. Some of you might remember me putting together a presentation that was about June, and we said that there was 20,000 EVs, plug-in hybrids and battery electric vehicles were registered on our roads in Australia at the end of December 2020. And that pretty much takes up all those vehicles that have been sold over the course of 10 years, basically, from the initial Leaf, the initial IMEVs in the early 2010, 2011 position to the end of 2020, 20,000 EVs on our roads. So, that in itself is no mean feat. But then what we'll see is that over the course of 2021, we basically put another 20,000 EVs on the road. So we doubled the population in 1 year. That's pretty exciting, I think. I think that's a big old deal. The way that these numbers come about, as many will know, Tesla don't report their numbers through the FCAI, which is the organisation of the manufacturers and the peak body of manufacturers, and that's revealed in a news item just recently, because they don't want to pay the extra money as a member based on the volume of vehicles, so they're not reporting. At least that's what the article said. But we also know that Tesla doesn't report its volume unless it absolutely has to in countries, or it's done for them by some countries, like Norway does. We can note that there's been 38 hydrogen vehicles sold and delivered in the year as well, of which it's a couple, and many of us have seen the Queensland government's Nexos. So there's a couple up here in Brisbane. And so, they're just starting to fledge now. My Tesla number is an estimate at this point in time, and I'm hoping that we can firm that up. Many of you may know the Tesla tracker, a Brisbane boy, but an enigma at the same time, Vita Prime, and he follows the shipping documents basically for all Teslas that come to Australia and go to New Zealand and elsewhere. And if you've got a Tesla that's on order, he will track your Tesla from factory through ship to landing and give you a bit of an insight as to when it's coming once you've got it in. He had some numbers as of September, end of September, at about 7,500 cars. And with the rate of deliveries over the back end of this year, I'm estimating that to be about 11,000 Teslas delivered in the year. It may be a little more, it may be a little less, but if we base it on that estimate, we're talking about broadly 20,000 cars landed in Australia and delivered in Australia in 2021, which is a pretty big outcome. That also represents nearly a tripling of the sales from the previous year, and we've almost broken 2% market share, which is pretty exciting, and certainly belted straight through that 1% market share barrier, and started to really impact that. I spent a bit of time with my colleagues at Movement today presenting this to give them a bit of an insight, just like I am with you, and also ask them for their predictions on what 2022 might look like and what that number might look like at the bottom there. And we mused over it for a short while, and I think everybody will have a theory, but broadly that theory will probably result from most of my team. It's going to be about the same number, and it's because of lack of demand and lack of interest. But we heard today from the Ioniq owners that they're one of 240, and in fact I believe Hyundai have released only 420 for Australia for the whole year. And that is the story of 2022 electric vehicles in Australia. Likely is that we will be heavily supply constrained. We will have a limited number of units afforded to the market, and that will result in us having a limited sales volume. And it's not because there's not plenty of us, others who'd be deeply interested to get hold of a car. It's just cars won't be coming in a volume that will satisfy us. And we're even seeing that with Tesla, who's continued to be obviously a major part of this volume, but also a quick to market or quick to deliver. Right now, if you went to order a Model 3, it would be 5 months before you would get hold of one. And we haven't seen that kind of lead time pretty much ever with a Model 3. And not since Model S, when I was selling them at Brisbane here, did we have that problem where we had a much longer lead time. So I hope that's the case, but I've read the tea leaves and I don't see much changing from particularly the first half of the year, and we'll have to have some serious changes in the second half of the year before we'd see the challenge of getting supplied more than about 20,000 EVs in the year. So that's an interesting one. And I can see here from the chat that that Wayne's put forward that he's got a reservation on a Polestar 2. And it looks like there might be 20 or more. There's many more than 20, can guarantee that. I think the Polestar is going to be a great opportunity for people, and we'll start to see them really probably just substitute Tesla sales. And Tesla will probably, with the supply constraint until specific things in the Tesla land work change, like Germany opens, Berlin factory opens, Austin opens, China is able to release Model Ys, and we said Model Y. These sorts of things are all going to be part of the constraint on Tesla. And the likes of Polestar, who might bring a few hundred in, maybe 5, even if they brought 500 in, it's really not going to make too much of a difference in this space. And, you know, with Hyundai only bringing only 500 in, my guess is that the EV6, which we'll talk about in a short while, will also not see many thousands of sales, because they won't bring many thousands of cars, because they can't afford to not sell them in Europe. And that's the story of the time, really. I hope that things can change, but I have see no conditions for that to occur. So some great news there, some great growth. It's likely to somewhat plateau in 2022, but I think we all can collectively rattle the drum and keep the noise going and keep pushing for that demand to turn into supply. I thought I'd also take a bit of a look at some of the vehicles that are starting to make some waves, starting to come about in the marketplace. And these are cars that I see as actually landing in Australia in this coming year, or in this now year, 2022, that will help fill up that volume gap. Probably not in great numbers, but in some sense. Now, the little Aura Cat, which someone said to me looked like the love child of a Nissan Micra and a Nissan Duke. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what I'd say, but it's something like that. It's quite a small car. It's a really exciting prospect, and the thing that excites me the most is it's from the company Great Wall, which have already got a great presence here in Australia with their Ute and SUV a lineup and a dealer network that supports that. And we're already seeing right-hand drive vehicles made, and we're seeing right-hand drive vehicles to be delivered to many reservation holders in the UK in this quarter. So those couple of bits of conditions lead me to think that we will actually see the Aura Cat, or whatever they're going to call it, in our market in the second half of this year. I suspect that will be a really good opportunity. I am not as bullish as a lot of the press is on the price. The press seems to take an overseas price, go into XE, stick in what that number is, and work out what the current exchange rate is. That's not how pricing works. There are things called taxes that are involved, and every country's got different ones. There's shipping that's involved, and there's a whole bunch of other things. And having been a pricing officer at a vehicle manufacturer for global pricing, I know what that looks like. So I expect that this car will be in the low 40s, probably about 45. There are going to be a couple of specifications, so it'll start at that and it'll go up from there. And if we just before about supply and demand, there's no need for it to be cheap. Why would you make a car cheap if you can sell it for a price that's higher? And that's what you're seeing manufacturers do. But it's an exciting little thing. It is a small car. So a lot of people talk to me about my Honda E and it being a small car and looking for a small, shorter design that fits in the city. So I think this car is going to be really great for that sort of stuff. And we'll also potentially come in, as Adam's comment there is come in below the ZS EV and the MG, and that will fit quite nicely as a sort of Australia's cheapest car, as the ZS has gone up market and up price a little bit with its extra features and larger battery and so on. So it's an exciting little car. For those who are car people and are really excited about style and design and particularly European design, the Cupra Born is probably your mid-size hatchback of choice. And excitingly, again, showing notes that this is actually coming to Australia. And as in my expectations, the first VW MEB platform ID style car or base car that'll come to Australia. Cupra Born. It'll come through the new brand of Cupra, which have just established as part of the Volkswagen Group. And they are going to start to deliver some other petrol cars as well. But the Cupra Born is based on an ID3. It's going to be, that's it's a Golf-sized car, although the ID3 is a Golf, and but it's got some really funky lines, some really great shapes. The interior is gorgeous, and this is the first one that was flown into Australia. As you can see, Qantas in the background. This is at Sydney Airport. This is spy photos that came about 2 weeks ago, and for the first version that's going to be tested in Australia. So with a lead up time of testing and some local homologation work that will go on this vehicle, it is expected that the vehicle might come about near back end of this year. Just like the ID3, the Ioniq 5, all these sorts of vehicles. People, how much are EVs? I just say $60,000 to $70,000 because they're all going to be $60,000 to $70,000, and maybe a little bit more, as we've heard tonight. In general, for those mainstream, slightly larger car brands, they're all going to be about $65,000 to $75,000, and coming with some really good options. Quite a sporty version there to be had. So Cupra Born's pretty exciting, and one that you might have seen a little bit more of. Lots of advertising going on, and it's really exciting that a brand like Kia, which came sixth in the national sales tree this year, has really started pushing the EV6. Obviously, the close cousin of the Ioniq 5, a really compelling looking and technical package. It's going to be a great car. There's no doubt about it. Starting to see first deliveries, first plated cars, and a good friend of mine from Melbourne posted some photos of her seeing some in traffic. Again, they're going to be Australian Open promo cars, and they might even be this white and same blue ones because they're the colours she found. And so they're happening. That's real. Kia uses the Australian Open always to launch cars in Australia, and there they are launching EV6. So very exciting. We are only going to get a brief selection of the overall grades that they will see overseas. We're only going to get the large battery, so we're only going to get the expensive ones. We're only going to get a baseline and a GT, which is the Super Sporty one. So again, we're going to have this stretch of standard range and performance, if you think in Tesla, whereas there's not going to be the middle grades and the lower battery and all the rest of it. So it's probably more like a long range and a performance, and that's going to drive the price up. It's going to be no cheaper than an Ioniq 5 at the base, and it's going to be in the GT version, which is 3.5 seconds, 100 Ks. It's going to be 100 grand. So we're not seeing any cheap cars from these guys, but what we are seeing is good cars. These are really going to be well put together, well designed. There's lovely shapes. The rear light bar is really cool on this car, and so maybe if the Ioniq 5 isn't your flavour, then this could be. So there's really interesting models that we are definitely going to get but if you want to get your hands on one, they're going to be limited. If we have a look at what's coming, so you may know CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. This year was a bit disrupted by COVID, but we saw in Las Vegas this year a couple of really interesting vehicles be shown by major manufacturers, and some of them are just interesting for you as well. So Chevy Silverado, trying a big brand, GM, trying to meet those competitors of Ford with the F-150 Lightning. Cybertruck obviously got a lot of headline and press, and the Rivian R1T, the R1T truck, are key rivals for that vehicle. And they, full-size truck, and we've seen a few more of those full-size trucks on our roads over here that have been converted and diesel all over us. Those vehicles, massive truck culture. Half of all cars sold, half of all light vehicles sold are these in America broadly. So it's a big market. There's some really cool features on this, like the tray bulkhead drops down and you can load right through into the cabin. There's lots of other cool things. The front is, you can have a party in the front. So there's some really cool features that are coming out in these trucks. Now, we don't even have a GM presence in Australia anymore with the loss of Holden. So we're certainly not going to get that vehicle here under a LBM banner. This sort of truck is not likely to come to Australia. And so, not that interesting from our point of view. And I personally think if folks are going to start trying to convert things like F-150 Lightnings and Silverados to right-hand drive for this market, I'm out. Thank you very much. The Vision EQXX. So Mercedes-Benz have decided to, have a bit of a technology showcase, proper concept car here. It's not likely to come to the market like it looks right now, but they've said that they will bring this vehicle to market. The whole point of this is efficiency, and we were listening to the kind of consumptions there before of the couple of vehicles that we were talking about, and this vehicle broadly is half the consumption that we saw of both of the vehicles we were presented this evening, which is, it's pretty wild, because this vehicle is not small. It's a 4-door speed coupe, and it's but it's much lower, much sleeker. The seat, anybody who's in aerodynamics, this is pretty exceptional. Even things where they've chosen to have aluminium brake discs, which is a far cry from what we've ever seen in most vehicles. So again, there's a real pushing of the boundaries in this concept car, and the concept of it being a road tripping car. So 1,000 kilometers of road tripping activity. Someone said to me it looked like an old RX-7, like a Series 7 RX-7, which in the front, which you can see a little bit, but just without the big wing on the back to stuff up the super design. But it's interesting to see what manufacturers are doing, particularly those pinnacle manufacturers. Mercedes-Benz has always brought out the best of everything. The first vehicle to have ABS in it was a Mercedes-Benz S-Class. You see S-Class be the pinnacle of technology over time. It's just got a certification for level 3 autonomy in Germany and in the brand new S-Class. So you see Mercedes bringing out the best into their technology suite, and so we're seeing some of that there. And then, look, finally, what I wanted to show you that came out of CES this year was something that's maybe not so EV, but it did feature on an EV, and the new iX was an electrically modifiable paint color, the E-ink technology, which I thought was just something a bit different and really quite interesting. And you can see even down here on the wheel, these painted panels that are on the wheel have been able to be changed to the darker rather than the lighter color. And another little flying of the flag here is that Stella Clark is Australian. She's run the program for BMW to do this flow e-ink paint, and it's really quite fascinating, the sorts of things manufacturers are starting to move into as they try to differentiate their electric vehicles and take them to a different level. And clearly this is a personalization thing, and it's not for everybody, and it's ridiculous amounts of money. And being a concept car. It's pushing the boundaries and showing things that may happen one day. But between the EQXX, which is like something out of a sci-fi film, and vehicles that are changing in paint color, it feels like we've finally made it into that world that the old television beyond 2000 always used to talk about. So I thought I'd share those few little bits and pieces, those few little topics. I see Gav has been cheeky and asking about Renault. I say, well, you mean the company that removed the Zoe from the market and left us with very little choice except for a Kangoo, which serves a purpose but isn't much. So let's see how we go. And Adam's point, I would love to paint the iX's grille and have it completely disappear and melt into the rest of the car. I don't know if there's a bet going on at BMW as to asking how far can we take this front end ugly design before people will stop buying our cars. I think they've probably reached that point personally, but I thought I'd leave you with those sorts of things. As I particularly do every time is we've committed that movement to have a conversation with the team, either live at the hall or in this means too, which is fine, every month on a topic that supports the further knowledge of EVs. We'll talk about the market, we'll talk about what's going on in cars and models like I have tonight, and sales. But we've also done deep dives into certain technologies over the last more than 12 months now. We've been doing this, and so I'm always keen for feedback or thoughts about topic areas you'd like to hear about, because I've got to come up with the ideas, and I'm more than happy to lean on yours. There has been a little bit of plant equipment being launched in the last little while, so I might put that one on a future month presentation and deep dive into plant equipment and where that might be going. But although it's very immature in the Australian market, but if you've got any feedback, any thoughts, please do let Les or John know. Reach out to us and have a chat for any thoughts there. If anybody's got any questions, I've got Mark's details up there, but if anybody's got any questions or any other things they'd like to mention, let us know now on the chat or chime in. Otherwise, I'll hand back to Les. I reckon that's our cue, Les. You're on mute.
Sorry. All the rain started blowing in.
Oh, no.
Sorry. I just muted because it's making lots of noise.
I just asked a question. Any charger infrastructure updates? For example, I'm really waiting on the third phase of the cache, particularly the charger. Well, yeah. I would hand over to my learned colleague JD. He really does follow the Australian, Queensland, particularly the Queensland rollout. I don't know what you know, Les. This is always a good finger on the pulse too.
Oh no, I've been busy doing other things. I have not checked. Yeah, John's working tonight, so
yeah, I suspect I can see John's in the background, but he probably is also on his work.
Yeah,
we'll put that in the list, Adam. There's been a bit of a pause over the Christmas period. I know it's clearly been shown where they're coming out, the cache phase 3. They're in certain towns. But the installation hasn't started yet. Probably the same thing goes for the arena funding, and John has detailed on a number of occasions the spots where we're going to see a lot of chargers around Brisbane metro area, and the broader southeast. And so he will probably detail that as soon as we can get some more definitive positions, it's with the Maccas or wherever it might be. But it's going to be good.
Yeah, normally I find it's the installation that takes the time. So, well, not that. Sorry, the site preparation.
Yeah,
because they may buy the stations, but they're not manufactured for months afterwards because they don't need them. They're still waiting on transformers and
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, all that
It's a
stuff.
project I'm working on at the moment. It would have liked to have been going live in about 2 weeks. We're not going to start for 4 months, and that's due to transformers. So it's a real problem for putting in big sites where there's grid upgrade requirement, and the slowest part is in the jets.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it does take a while. Awesome. Yeah. Oh cool. Yeah. So yeah, John said he's gonna we'll have a look at that next month. No, thanks very much for that, Nathan. I didn't have anything else. So Simone's been helping me do the like help with the communications and other stuff. So what's the name? Next month I will not mix up the links that I mailed out. I just realized later that the links I sent in the mail are different to the links I sent in the little calendar file. So they'll all match next month. So that should just all go happily. So again, thanks to everyone who showed stuff tonight, because without you guys, we wouldn't have anything to show. So thanks very much. And thanks to everyone who came along to watch. And this one's been recorded. So when it's done, we'll pull it out and yeah, I'll get John to post it up on YouTube. So yeah, thanks very much for everyone. And yeah, I'll end the meeting soon. Bye.